Imagine waking up tomorrow, and the sun is gone. Not hidden behind clouds. Not eclipsed. Gone. No explosion. No warning. Just empty sky. At first, most people wouldn't even notice. Because the most terrifying part would arrive 8 minutes later. The sun is so far away that its last light takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. So for 8 ordinary minutes, the entire human race would continue living, completely unaware that the star keeping every living thing alive had already disappeared. People would sip coffee. Children would walk to school. Pilots would fly through clear skies. Stock markets would open. Someone would fall in love. Someone else would take their final breath. Humanity would continue acting as if tomorrow still existed. Then, the countdown would end, and the universe would finally tell us the truth. The daylight would disappear instantly, not like a sunset. Sunsets fade gently. This would be like someone switching off reality itself. The blue sky would collapse into absolute black. Even at noon, millions would stare upward in disbelief. Streetlights would flicker on. Cars would slam on their brakes. Birds would stop singing. Dogs would begin howling. Across every continent, people would ask the same impossible question: where did the sun go? But that wasn't the worst part. Because light isn't the only thing the sun gives us. It also gives us gravity. And gravity travels at the speed of light. Exactly 8 minutes after the last sunlight vanished, the sun's gravitational pull would disappear too. This is where everything changed. 4.5 billion years. Earth has been trapped in an elegant cosmic dance around our star. The moment the sun's gravity vanished, that dance would end. Our planet wouldn't stop. It wouldn't slow down. It would fly forward in a perfectly straight line, like a rock released from a sling. Imagine driving around a racetrack. Suddenly, the road disappears. Your car doesn't turn anymore. It shoots straight into darkness. That's exactly what Earth would do, at nearly 108,000 kilometers per hour. Forever. The solar system would instantly become history. And nobody standing on Earth's surface would feel a thing, which somehow makes it even more terrifying. The stars above would become brighter than humanity had ever seen. Without sunlight flooding our atmosphere, the universe would finally reveal itself. The Milky Way would stretch from horizon to horizon. Billions of stars, nebulas, galaxies. The true night sky. Beautiful, overwhelming, completely indifferent. For the first time in human history, every person alive would see what the universe actually looks like, and many would realize how unimaginably small we really are. But then something strange happened. The air would still feel normal. For now, because Earth is incredibly good at storing heat. The oceans, the land, the atmosphere, all act like a giant thermal battery. The temperature wouldn't instantly freeze. The first few hours would mostly feel like a very cold evening. People would still hope. Governments would issue emergency broadcasts. Scientists would search desperately for answers. Religious leaders would declare prophecies. Social media would erupt with theories. Alien invasion, simulation glitch, God's judgment, mass hallucination. Every explanation, except the correct one. Because the correct one is simply too terrifying to accept. The sun is gone. Around the world, power grids would face impossible demand. Everyone would turn on lights, heaters, emergency systems. Energy consumption would skyrocket. Some cities would survive. Others would go dark. Entire countries would descend into panic within hours. Airports would shut down. Financial markets would collapse. Communication networks would become overloaded. Not because civilization had ended, but because people believed it had. Human psychology has a strange weakness. Sometimes, fear spreads faster than reality. A rumor can empty supermarket shelves. A prediction can crash economies. An invisible threat can change millions of lives overnight. Now imagine fear backed by absolute proof. A black sky, no sunrise, no explanation. Civil order wouldn't disappear everywhere, but trust would. And once trust disappears, society becomes fragile. By the 6th hour, temperatures would begin falling rapidly. Plants would stop producing energy. Photosynthesis, the process responsible for nearly every meal you've ever eaten, would cease instantly. Every leaf on Earth would become nothing more than stored energy waiting to run out. It's strange. We spend our lives worrying about money, careers, arguments, status. Meanwhile, every bite of food, every breath of oxygen, every heartbeat in civilization depends on one star we almost never think about. The sun has always been so reliable that humanity forgot it was a privilege. And this is the part almost nobody talks about. Darkness changes people, not metaphorically, biologically. Our brains evolved around sunlight. Our hormones rise and fall because of it. Our sleep depends on it. Our mood depends on it. Even our sense of time depends on that bright circle crossing the sky every day. Without sunlight, millions would lose all sense of normality. Panic attacks would increase. Depression would intensify. Confusion would spread. After only one day, many people wouldn't just fear the darkness. They would begin feeling consumed by it. Because humans aren't designed to live without tomorrow. Around 12 hours in, the oceans would still hold enormous warmth. But land would cool much faster. Many regions would already be below freezing. Animals would behave unpredictably. Migratory birds would lose their navigation. Insects would become inactive. Predators would hunt differently. The natural world, carefully balanced over millions of years, would begin falling out of rhythm. The forests would grow silent. The fields would stop moving. The world wouldn't die immediately. It would pause, as if Earth itself were holding its breath. Meanwhile, astronomers would be racing against time. Their telescopes would search every corner of space. Was the sun destroyed? Did it move? Did reality itself change? Every answer would sound impossible, because according to everything we know about physics, stars don't simply vanish. If the sun disappeared, our understanding of the universe would disappear with it. Imagine discovering that gravity isn't what you thought. Physics isn't what you thought. Reality isn't what you thought. The greatest scientific crisis in history would begin with one empty patch of sky. By 18 hours, the average global temperature would continue dropping. Most crops would already be under severe stress. Solar power, which now supplies electricity to millions, would become useless. Spacecraft relying on sunlight would lose power. Satellites would begin failing. Navigation systems would become unreliable. Weather prediction would collapse. Piece by piece, the invisible systems supporting modern civilization would quietly stop working. We often imagine the apocalypse arriving with explosions, but reality is usually quieter. A machine shuts down. A supply chain breaks. A signal disappears. Then another. Then another. Until suddenly, the world you depended on no longer exists. As the 24th hour approached, humanity would gather. Families would sit together. Cities would hold vigils. Some would pray. Some would celebrate life. Some would refuse to believe any of it. Children would ask, "When will the sun come back?" And for the first time in history, parents would have no comforting answer. Then, exactly 24 hours after it vanished, the impossible would happen. A tiny point of light would appear on the horizon. At first, nobody would trust their own eyes. Then the light would grow brighter. The black sky would slowly turn blue. Birds would sing again. Ice would begin melting. People would cry, laugh, collapse to their knees. Not because humanity had solved the mystery, but because the sun had returned. And suddenly, everyone would understand something they had forgotten. Every sunrise is a miracle disguised as routine. Every morning, the universe silently gives us another chance. And almost none of us notice. We complain about Mondays, traffic, bills, deadlines. Yet above every argument, every ambition, every war, hangs a giant nuclear star that asks for nothing, while making everything possible. Here's the unsettling truth. This story isn't really about the sun. It's about certainty. Human civilization is built on invisible assumptions. That tomorrow will arrive. That gravity will keep working. That oxygen will still exist. That the people we love will still answer the phone. Most of our confidence isn't courage. It's routine. The sun rises every day, so we assume it always will. But the universe never signed that contract. The comfort we call normal is simply a streak of extraordinary luck. Perhaps that's why moments of darkness change us. They expose something hidden beneath our schedules and distractions. They remind us that existence isn't guaranteed. It's borrowed. The sun doesn't owe us another sunrise. The earth doesn't owe us another orbit. Life doesn't owe us another tomorrow. Yet somehow, morning keeps arriving. Light keeps returning. Hope keeps winning. Maybe that's the greatest miracle of all. Not that the sun burns, but that we've lived long enough to stop noticing it. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you worry about work, before you complain about the day ahead, look up, because somewhere 150 million kilometers away, A star is silently sacrificing itself every second, just so you can have another ordinary day. And maybe the most extraordinary thing in your life is the thing you stopped seeing. Because the scariest disaster isn't losing the sun, it's forgetting that you ever needed it in the first place.